it's time now for our moment of faith, and we want to talk about Blessed Hope Chapel out there in Simi Valley, California. One of the tenets of what they believe is that they have the responsibility before God to warn believers against false doctrines, destructive philosophies as well, and deceptive ideologies. As one of its leaders, Senior Pastor Joe Schimmel, he also heads the Good Fight Ministries, whose objective is to teach and encourage spiritual warfare against the powers of darkness, to share important insights as they relate to biblical prophecy, and to provide information from a biblical and spiritual worldview to help people make informed life choices. And Pastor Joe Schimmel joins us now on American Sunrise. Pastor Schimmel, always great to see you. Let's talk a little bit about the spiritual warfare battle going on in Israel. This is a fight between good and evil. How do you see it?
Absolutely. Since you want to mention the spiritual warfare angle, I think a lot of people are missing that. In Revelation chapter 12, it talks about how the woman, which is described as with 10 stars, the sun and the moon, which bow down before, which give birth to the man-child, which came through Jesus. Jesus came through Israel. It says that Satan is enraged with her during the tribulation period, and he seeks to destroy her. She's set at juxtaposition with those who have the testimony of Jesus. So this is Israel before she's born again spiritually. But when you see her described, or Satan described as the dragon, he seeks to devour her during the tribulation period. And it says he comes down to the earth with great rage. So we see that rage already being manifested through Hamas, and we've seen it through the centuries. And we see in the scripture, and I think this is important, David, that all the nations, a lot of us as Christians are astonished when we look at Isaiah 68:6, for instance, which says, has anybody ever imagined such a thing, or that a nation would be born in a single day? And that came to pass in 1948. Yet a lot of us don't realize, or we forget, that there's another phenomenon the scriptures talk about where the nations would one day come against Israel. And we're seeing that with Hamas pushing the ball forward with trying to bring forth world hatred, even leaders calling for days of rage against Israel and so forth. And these are astonishing prophecies that have never been fulfilled in any other nation but Israel.
Well, you know what's interesting, Pastor, is that we talk about the Temple Mount a lot. This has such religious significance, and we hear all the time about the religious significance to the Muslims. Hold on for a second. Let's dial it back to Genesis and talk about Mount Moriah. This was literally the area of Mount Moriah where Abraham went to sacrifice his son Isaac. Of course, we know how that turned out. Good news for Isaac. So that's what happened. I mean, this is a holy site to both Jews, Christians, clearly, Muslims as well. So this is all tied together, and people, I feel, just are relatively ignorant on that aspect of it.
No, that's a great point. In fact, it's such a holy spot in God's sight that he tells Abraham to take his son to a special place, Mount Moriah. And he says, your son, your only son whom you love. Of course, that's a picture of Jesus. First time you see the word love in the Old Testament, it's right there. First time you see the New Testament, God says, this is my son whom I love. He gives his only son. He doesn't withhold him as Abraham was called to withhold Isaac, because Isaac was just a picture of Jesus. They both carry wood up to Mount Moriah. Mount Moriah is Mount Calvary. But fast forward, as you said, until now you have the Al-Aqsa Mosque up there. You have the Golden Dome up there. And interestingly, David, you talk about spiritual warfare. It says on these two buildings on the Temple Mount, Muslim buildings, that Allah is God and he has no son. According to 1 John, that's the doctrine of Antichrist. He that denies the Father and the Son is Antichrist, is a coming Antichrist. And Satan wants that spot. He got kicked out of heaven. The best place he could have is the holy site. And so that's part of the spiritual war against Christians and against Jews.
Pastor Schimmel, great to have you. Limited time. Appreciate your time. And
Thanks
that's right. Jews and Christians Jews and Christians go to the Temple Mount only on select days. And by the way, they cannot pray. They cannot bring their Bible. Isn't that interesting?
That's
Thanks
right.
a lot, Muslims.